on digital power. This is what a digital coup looks like. Carol Caldwalder. Where do I start? Number one, shout out to Carol. Um, I had the pleasure of meeting her just briefly after she did this talk. And it was like, yeah, we're in your corner. And it was a nice emotional moment for both of us. Listen, Carol opened up TED, his first talk, I believe. And she's on the TED stage. And I was also in the audience. So it must have been, what, 5 years ago? I think it was right after the pandemic hit. I would say 2021, something like that. Back when they started, because it was a couple of years where they didn't have TEDs, because obviously the pandemic. But listen, she basically was like, look, these social media companies um, have they are doing too much. She's a reporter over in the UK. I think I want to say Wales, but in the UK. She's the one that broke the Cambridge Analytical story when it came to Facebook, now known as Meta. She's the one. She's the Woodward or Bernstein, if y'all know who they are. They're the ones back around the time I was born who broke the Watergate scandal and caused Nixon to resign. She's the equivalent of that now, 30, 40, 50 years later. She broke that story as well as some other stories, saying how Facebook and other platforms, particularly Facebook, not to single them out, but that's what the focus was on, um, were sharing this user data and also getting involved in politics in a way that they should not have been. It's a short version of it. It could be a whole episode. Did the TED talk on it. Again, I was proud to be in the audience. I'm glad I caught it. Automatically became a fanboy. What I didn't know, which is what she shared at TED a couple weeks ago, was that two things happened. First of all, she became digitally attacked, which means that her public information, which is called, I forget the term for it, but her public information was shared out online as far as where she lives, doxed, DOXXED, doxed. My programming days were way behind me, but she was doxed. I think it might have been multiple times. She was constantly harassed online, like constantly. She shared some of it. It was brutal. Like I think having a show was bad. Oh my God. I thought it was bad when I was a writer for Playboy. Stuff that no, she went through it. And most devastatingly, which she'll talk about again, her TED Talk is live. You can watch that joint right after we're done. Immediately. It already got 1 million views. It just got live a few days ago. This is not a joke. Carol was sued for, I went to say libel. No, I'm sorry. She was sued for slander because slander is spoken out loud. Libel is when something's written. Luckily, my journalism degrees are coming in handy now. But I believe she was sued for slander. It might have been related to the TED Talk, but I think it was more related to some other press she was doing at that time. And almost lost everything. And, putting her home up and the whole thing. And and she went and turned around. She won the case, then came back to TED, did the talk again, and then talked about what happened. The bravery required for that. Oh my God. Imagine, imagine being up against some of the most powerful forces in the world, the most powerful known forces, as far as resources, as far as political connections. I know I keep bringing up politics, but it's important on this one. Imagine that. Imagine that. You almost lose everything. And then you manage to survive. And you do it again. Her talk was awe inspiring. And it talked about what happened to her. Obviously, that's how I know. Um, but also talks about what we should be doing next. If I get any more into it, then it'll be the same as the TED Talk. Go watch the talk immediately after this. If there's something important that you feel like you have to say, you do not need to wait for Chris Anderson, who's the gentleman who's in charge of TED for the next year until he retires. Um, you don't have to wait for Chris Anderson or one other people to give you an invitation. And in fact, you can probably do a TED Talk in the next couple of years, depending on where you're located. And there's TEDx talks all around the world. Getting your first TED Talk, a beginner's guide, is me, as much as possible, pulling behind the curtain. And I think it's about a half an hour long, talking about the details of how I ended up getting my first TED Talk, how the TEDx's work, and what to do and not to do as far as what TED ideas work. It's a stereotype now as far as with TED Talks. I get it. I get it. I get it. I'm sure some of the TED Talks that I've done fall into that stereotype as well. So I'm not mad. In fact, I find it humorous. And at the same time, there's some things that you just do not want to do on the TED stage. So consider it a primer. I ghostwrite for folks and I work with Heroic as well as independently and helping people get their speeches out there. And I ghostwrite keynotes and so forth. So consider me, your man behind the scenes that might be able to help you um, get your talk in order and to understand, like, do you have an idea that makes sense on the TED stage and what the next steps would be? So, as far as with the different platforms, have you kind of shied away from social media and and how much information you're sharing outside? Has it concerned you as far as how much power the platforms? I'm thinking TikTok, X, um, Meta slash Facebook slash um, Instagram slash WhatsApp. Does it concern you as far as how concentrated that power is? And how much that power is connected to the political process, not only here in America and not only in North America, but in the world. What are your thoughts on that? And has that kind of made you pull away from social media? I'd love to get your thoughts below. Jump in the comments. Let me know. Entrepreneurial Coach Damon Brown, here to help you as a side hustler, solopreneur, otherwise known as an entrepreneur. You're watching Bring Your Show live Wednesdays at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. Subscribe on any of your platforms for free. You can catch me at Bring Your Worth TV, which is right now the YouTube platform. You can catch me over on Twitch. Shout out to the Twitch folks over there. You can catch me on LinkedIn if you have to be on LinkedIn, as well as on Spotify for more classic episodes.